Africa Rise and Shine, coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. As the world prepares to commemorate International Women's Day this coming Monday, under the theme #Choose to Challenge, the question of female representation in the field of artificial intelligence, or AI, remains a pertinent one. Head of analytical software company FICO in the Africa region, Beetar, joins us on the line to discuss how artificial intelligence is changing all the rules of how companies operate and how women can play a role in this new way of doing business. Michelle, good morning and thank you for joining us on Africa Rise and Shine.
Good morning, Lulu. Thanks very much for having me.
Now, Michelle, can you tell us how your interest in analytics started?
Lulu, to be honest, it's really been an evolution. So as my corporate career progressed, I began to really appreciate the need to interpret and communicate the data we had to hand to help us make effective decisions within whichever organization I happen to be in, effectively to learn from the past to predict the future. Today, with digitization, organizations are producing huge amounts of data. And so the value of analytics as an opportunity to streamline how we do business, to adjust and automate business processes is increasing in lockstep with that. If you can imagine, as an example, FICO currently protects over 2.6 billion payment cards worldwide. Just wading through the data to understand whether one of those transactions as a human would be, is fraudulent would be impossible to do.
Now, artificial intelligence is shaping gender relations now, creating new challenges, obviously, and opportunities for women. Is there any gender discrimination in the field? And if so, what are they exactly? And, just elaborate on how these gender roles and discriminations can be amended.
Yeah, so, even if it's not explicit, the fact that fields like science, maths, and engineering have traditionally been male-dominated sort of perpetuates the trend. The field is mathematics-based, and the simple fact is we need more women to pursue both study and then careers in the domain to break that stereotype. The reality is also AI models are trained on data sets, and these data sets frequently simply have coded into them a level of bias. So let's take an example. If we were an organization and we might look at the past data about who we want to hire into an engineering role, and it happens to be male-dominated in the past, the likelihood is that the AI model would say you need a man for that role.
Michelle, you were just going into the different disparities when it comes to whether there's gender discrimination in the industry, and what can be done to ensure that this industry is also penetrated by women.
Bottom line is we need more women studying in the field and pursuing careers. And I think employers are starting to recognize that they need to build diversity into their teams who are building AI models to make sure that we don't perpetuate any of the bias that might exist in those models.
Now, Michelle, we've seen in the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, hitting literally the globe, and seeing a bigger move to digital online access to whether it's schooling, the work environment, and obviously with looking at young female, and if we focus on young females, you go into some schools and they have subjects like gaming, robotics, and so on. How do we ensure that young females show an interest in this field, and that what courses can be taken, or how do we make sure that from an early age this is where we drive young people, especially putting a focus on girls, to ensure that the industry is sort of on a level playing field?
Look, I think girls need to realize that there's a lot of opportunity. One of our global head of analytics delivery is a lady called Louise Lund. I personally think girls should be encouraged to make sure they study their maths, that they really keep an open mind. There are numerous paths to a career in AI. And, many of the world's most pressing problems will be solved with AI. So girls need to make sure that they remain curious, they bring their passion, that they are encouraged to look at things like courses that cover coding, programming skills, even communication and programming skills. So we need more women in the field that young girls can emulate, but we need girls to understand that they have a real contribution to make in this field, and they have, as much opportunity as any young man in their class to do so.
Is it now more of parents and teachers driving this need for young people, especially young females, to understand that, to ensure that the playing field is level, it has to come from them?
Yeah, I think it comes from certainly teachers and certainly parents, in terms of not perpetuating the stereotypes, if I can put it that way, but really understanding that girls should be, if they show an interest and if they are keen, to continue to focus on those science subjects.
Do you think we need more women to contribute in decision making pertaining to analytics and AI in general? We've got you already in that space, and you mentioned your colleague as well. Do you think more needs to be done?
I think yes. I mean, we have a lot of women in analytics in FICO, but we're certainly looking for more. I mean, and recently, just last week, the British Intelligence Service published an editorial in the Financial Times, where the director said teams that develop AI must be as diverse as possible to reduce the risk of bias. So, as I said, employers are recognizing they need to build diversity in innovation and teams. So, yeah, and even different fields of education. So, the traditional, I'm talking about a maths-based curriculum as a path, but there are other paths there as well, as we see behavioral science develop, so somebody with a psychology background, but who's also had an interest in coding and kept that interest alive, they may well have a future in AI.
Well, Michelle, this is definitely a growing, a sort of industry, and we hope to see more and more young females and, of course, young males moving into the space. And as the world is developing, AI is key. Well, that was Michelle Beetar, Managing Director for analytics software company FICO in the Africa region, joining us on the line.